Good morning, Gardenia! Happy Monday, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. We made it to another one. I hope you had a good weekend. I certainly did here in Gardenia. Oh, man. Well, except for I had one big administrative chore this weekend, which was to schedule Corona tests. Can I still say Corona, or is it COVID? I gotta say COVID now, right? Or I'm not one of the cool kids. Okay, gotcha. All right. So we went to. I was online and on the phone for hours and hours and hours. Okay, it wasn't that bad, but it was way more trouble than it was supposed to be. We'll get into that. We got some, like, before I go any further. I talk about my journalistic responsibility on the show. Well, today we have two big celestial announcements before we get into anything else. Our guest, our COVID block, today we got a great guest. We got tons of news, more headlines than CJ can handle. We're going to crash his internet. But first, two major celestial happenings that I just have to tell everybody about. And I'm going to be here in Gardenia tonight with my special phone camera app. I've got, you don't know this, check it out. Camera PX it's like some kind of special just Android camera app that lets you do extended night photography. Why am I telling you about this before we even get to the stories? Well, tonight here in Gardenia, I know I'm going to be out looking up at the sky for a couple things. First, the longest night of 2020 will feature the year's final media shower. The extended hours of darkness. This is from WUSA9.com. The extended hours of darkness
Mercury in the last decade.
Two celestial happenings that maybe we're staying up to see. Giuliani, we're just going to get into this. So the longest night of the year, that's the December solstice. That's tonight, Monday, 5:02 a.m. Eastern time, when the sun's rays are most direct over the southern hemisphere. For the northern hemisphere, this is the shortest day and longest night of the year, and marks the transition from astronomical autumn to astronomical winter. Meanwhile, this solstice signals the start of astronomical summer south of the equator, with December 21 bringing the longest day and shortest night of the year. So there are two events. So for folks across the northern hemisphere. Wow, what an Amerocentric Freudian slip. The extended hours of darkness will feature two celestial happenings that may be worth staying up late to see. The first of the two events can be seen globally and is an extraordinarily close encounter between the two largest planets in the solar system. However, it will only be visible for an hour or two after sunset in the western sky on December 21st. So that's tonight. I mean, maybe it's a nice day. It's a nice day here in Gardenia. It's not so cold. Beautiful, clear skies, very bright. Shouldn't be too cold. Worth bearing the cold, I think, tonight. It's been a while since I've gotten out and done any night photography, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'll be watching the sunset, and I've been watching for the last few months Jupiter and Saturn in the sky, and I've got some pictures of those up on our Instagram at the Garden of Freedom on Instagram, and I think there's one or two that are actually tagged #Saturn, #Jupiter. But yeah, so they will look like one single object in the sky, leading some to nickname the event the Christmas Star due to its proximity to the holiday season. Oh, what a Westocentric way of describing this, right? Yes, it's two planets line up in the star, and it's somewhere near our big holiday. We're gonna have to name it after that. So yeah, this is the Christmas Star. I don't care too much about the name, but the other one, the Ursid meteor shower, will unfold during the second half of Monday night into the early hours of Tuesday morning, but will only be visible for sky watchers across the northern hemisphere. So according to the American Meteor Society, did you know there was such a thing? The American Meteor Society. The Ursids are often neglected due to the fact it peaks just before Christmas, and the rates are much less than the Gemins, which peaks just a week before the Ursids. Yeah, those damn Germans. Gemins, excuse me. Observers will normally see 5 to 10 ursits per hour during late morning hours on the date of maximum activity. There have been occasional outbursts when rates have exceeded 25 per hour. And we get a lot of meteor showers out here, like even normal on a normal night, just a normal clear night here in Gardenia, being able to look up at the sky and see, a handful of shooting stars. Shooting stars, yeah, great scientific misnomer. But the meteors that you do get to see on clear nights here, it's pretty cool. And when you have as a wonderful place to observe, as we do here, it's everything is the night sky is just always beautiful, whether it's doing anything or not. But specifically tonight, what does that mean? 25 per hour? Because you just like sit there and it's like a show. Every 2 minutes you're going to see a shooting star. You get stoned, lie down somewhere outside where you can stare up at the sky tonight. This is going to be worth it taking in, and I'll be there with you in spirit on my own here in Gardenia. So check it out. We've got another story about this from CNN specifically. Watch for the Christmas stars. Jupiter and Saturn come closer than they have in centuries. So this is once in a lifetime kind of celestial event specifically. I mean, the meteor shower is just a really cool thing that happens on a regular basis, I guess, relatively speaking. But it is a meteor shower that is special, worth catching tonight. But the Jupiter Saturn, this is the closest. They are coming closer together than they have for since the Middle Ages. The Middle Ages. We described that time period based on what it was in the middle of. Yeah. So again, on the night of December 21st tonight, Jupiter and Saturn will appear so closely aligned that they will look like a double planet or a big star. So check it out. This is called conjunction, and the fact that this event is happening during the winter solstice is pure coincidence. So anyway, that's it. Let's get to Comment Jim Freedom and our promos here. Jim, welcome to the show, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. Unfortunately, not quite Gardenia. Jim, what do we have for promos today? You want to do our promos to start the show too, and then I can drink.
Okay, we can do that. That was great. Before we get to the promos, real quick, Craig wanted to point out that that's a good night for first contact when the stars are.
Oh yeah. If any aliens wanted to come down and I'll be around. I'm free.
Right. Yeah, come on down. I've always given the same invitation. Please feel free to come on by and say hi. As far as promos goes, ways you can support us here at the show, you can visit AdamVersusTheMan.com as the bottom of the screen. And once you're there, click on the Patreon link, and that'll take you to our Patreon.com Adam versus the Man page. You can help us out with $1, $5, or $10 a month. $10 is really where it's at. That gets you access to the Producers Club, which is where everything happens behind the scenes, where we prep for the show. It's where you have general conversation, basically 24-hour access to Adam and everyone else with us on the show. I keep going to my mouse, and I don't have a AA battery, so I got no mouse today. So I'm using my laptop's thing, so I'm a little bit slower. Once you're done with the Patreon link, you head over to our store, check out all the cool stuff CJ's been putting together. Adam versus the Man has its own store link. There's the shirt I'm wearing, Jim versus the Man. If you want to, we may be able to work out I think sometime soon we're going to be doing custom orders where you can get your own name on there and personalize some of our stuff. That would be awesome. But he's got a ton of great stuff.
Hold on, Jim, I'm going to bring it back to the store. But since you remind me, I got a few production notes. I thought it was funny that you said, you brought up a first contact comment as like to kick things off here. Because I've got that line from Aluminum Foil going over and over in my head. In case an alien's inclined to probe your butt or read your mind, from Weird Al Yankovic's Aluminum Foil. Great song. If you don't know, check it out. But tomorrow we have an alien block. We actually have a block on alien news. And this is, something that I kind of keep up with just a little bit on the side on my own, but I haven't really brought to the audience and all. We did the story last week about the Israeli defense former muckety muck who said, "Oh yeah, the aliens, they've been in contact with us, just the U.S. and Israeli governments, because we're that special." Fuck you. Really, that's your alien legend. Oh yeah, the aliens love. Even the aliens agree that we're better than the rest of you. But this, so we got a block, but we got a block. We got a whole block of alien news, and it seems like there's more than ever before. And a lot of people, or at least in the back of my mind, I have this voice like, Adam, that's not news. You can't talk about it. But the story last week, even though we decided it was bullshit, the fact that an Israeli former defense minister, whatever the heck he was, and respected, a university professor comes out and says this, you go, well, that's kind of news, even if it's just his own bullshit hoax or he's losing his mind. But we have some serious stories too about looking at radio waves from outer space, and science, like actual science about aliens. Okay, guys, we got it coming tomorrow. We got a big block. So today is the big news headline COVID catch-up block. We got to get through this. Like I got to get to the COVID headlines. CJ is scrambling right now to pull up 100 different news stories so we can get you all caught up on COVID before the break. But tomorrow as our last show before Christmas, and so we are taking off 3 days this week, because we're taking off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So tomorrow's our last show. We will be back on Monday. So tomorrow for Christmas, I'm giving y'all a really fun episode of nothing but science, tech, nature, and human progress innovation stories. I think it's a great way to we're not quite ending off the year. We'll be back before the year's over. But to sort of end this run before our 3-day break, before the big holiday of Christmas. The Jews get the little holiday, the Muslims get the ignore holiday, the Christians and the secularists who like to dress up get the big holiday of Christmas. But for those of you, I take it as meaningful because I'm going to be with my wife and her dad in California. I don't know what we're doing. Nothing big. We already got Christmas out of the way with our family this year, in a way with Christmas at Thanksgiving, when we at least we knew it was before they were going to round us all up into COVID concentration camps. At least we knew we could travel then. We don't know what's going to be possible for Christmas. We don't know what's going to be possible with this COVID test for Hawaii. But that's my big administrative note and scheduling stuff. So if you want to send stories to me, like during the show today, send them to me on Twitter. Just tweet me links for what do we want to call tomorrow's show? The good news show, the progress show, libertarians on progress, maybe something like that. But if you have positive nature discovery links, science innovation links, scientific progress, innovation in general, alien stories. We've got like a sub block on tomorrow's show for aliens. And if you want to just you can email me, Adam at the Freedom Line, send it to me on Twitter at Adam Kokesh. Tomorrow's going to be a fun show. And I believe we have some new merch on the website to go back to where you were in the promos there, Dan.
We got merch on the website.
Is the new t-shirt up? Did CJ get the new t-shirt up?
I don't know. He's fishing around right now. I was reading the chats that were coming in. I got distracted. Sorry about that. To get back to the shop, though, that's what we were talking about. Is CJ ready to bring that shop back up that people can visit? Okay, anyways, you know where the shop's at. That's where you're going to be going to buy all your merch. Yep, there we are. I don't see the new shirt. He must obviously not have that up yet. So after you do that, we got to go to Cigar Federation and get your 10% off by using the promo code Adam10, all caps. That's going to get you any of these wonderfully flavored cigars for all your tobacco smoking needs, and those things are pretty good. So get yourself 10% discount. Why not? And after that, go to makethemdebate.com and get Adam into debating some people. Let's find the most wild person we can get him to debate and get that on the post so we can get some public support behind it and get it to happen so we can have some fun debates. That's all I got. Promo's done. Now it's time to get this COVID out of the way. Or do you want some comments?
Let's get this COVID out of the way. Shall we do our COVID block? Shall we jump in? Is everybody ready? Buckle up, motherfuckers. It's a long one.
Oh, are you ready, CJ? Thumbs up or thumbs down? He's yeah.
No,
thumbs
I'm
down,
not
so let's
ready.
give
You
it
all
just a
rushed
few more
through
minutes.
this like a freight train through a snowstorm. I need to.
All right, it's only been 15
2 minutes.
minutes of
This is
intro.
what
here, but no,
happens when
so-
you don't send me the links right. That's what happens when you don't send me the.
All right, so
I got you there,
so,
but
uh,
yeah, okay.
so
Few
I'll
comments
finish
then
this-
while we're waiting.
Well, let me finish this story real quick. It's sort of like COVID warm up. So I'm flying to Hawaii. I'm going to be there for the first 2 weeks of January with my wife for our honeymoon, and we're going to do the show the second week. But in order to go to Hawaii right now, excuse me, what they changed the state policy from mandatory 2-week quarantine to mandatory 2-week quarantine if you don't get a negative COVID test first. And it has to be from one of the Hawaii state government accepted partners. That's not such a big deal. It has to be 72 hours, and then you have to have your results. And it may have changed now that they're working with the airlines, telling airlines, you cannot get on a flight to Hawaii if you don't have the negative. We're not just accepting people who are going to not get a test and then come in quarantine, apparently. But we went and saw that, okay, on the list, Walgreens and CVS are accepted partners for Hawaii's state government to let you travel and without quarantining in Hawaii. Now, there's all sorts of other rules for, like, if you go inter-island travel, there are other quarantine, isolation. There's all sorts of silly stuff going on in Hawaii right now. But you would think, hey, CVS, Walgreens, no big deal, right? Well, not quite that simple. First, according to CVS, because I have no, particular risk factors, or like I'm not a first responder, priority personnel, frontline workers in the COVID crisis. I'm not, medical professional. Apparently, according to CVS, I don't qualify to get a COVID test. I do not meet the qualifications. Now, according to Walgreens, I go to Walgreens. Okay, Walgreens.com. They got to be organized. They got to have this. And yeah, they're taking appointments for tests. But as I found out after an hour on the phone with customer service from Walgreens, oh no, they're only scheduling tests 3 days out because of high demand. And I mean, right away from these two things, I go, yeah, socialist medicine in America. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. Where everything government touches turns to shit. But when it comes to medicine, healthcare in general, we have become so used to government having a heavy hand in healthcare that we don't see this for what it is, as a government line because of a government shortage, government caused shortage. There's no reason for this right now. And in our block today, you're going to see, even with the vaccines, that the manufacturer has millions of them sitting in a warehouse and can't ship them out because government hasn't told them where to ship them yet. So anyway, we found a private healthcare clinic where we're able to schedule a test, but right now it's the one that, and it is one of Hawaii's accepted partners, but it's only going to be ready in 3 to 4 days. We have to take it within 72 hours of our flight. So we could go in, get the tests exactly 72 hours before our flight. If they're not ready in time, well, shit, I guess we're not going to Hawaii. Maybe they let us on the plane with it. Who knows? So I have a couple of backups. So I'm going to be refreshing the Walgreens website as of 72 hours before 72 hours from our flight, going, oh, is there a new appointment scheduled? This is what they told me on the phone I should be doing. Is as soon as an appointment becomes available on their system 3 days in advance, you have to be first in line, first refreshing your browser to get that time slot. So I've got that as a backup, and then I've got another one that's a possible 24-hour turnaround as a backup schedule, but it's a lot more expensive. So that's what it's like trying to get a COVID test right now for me under these circumstances. Fucking insane.
That's horrible. And I'm glad that I don't have to worry about needing a test for anything I need to do at this point anyway.
Well, I
CJ, what
think
do
they
you got?
want to make it easier to get the vaccine than the test at this point.
Yeah. Just assume you have it and go get the vax. Yeah.
So is every link for today's show, if you look at the top of the screen, is every one of these millions of links for today's show? Is that all COVID?
About 2/3 of it, yeah.
And they're scattered.
links
So from
online.
now on, Adam, I hate to say this because we're never gonna be able to ever go back to YouTube. So I think the intro for this show is gonna have to just be a Corona medical information warning at this point. I mean, like at what point is it? This show might as well just be called Adam versus the Rona. This is. I mean, there's like 50 links. 2/3 of them are all Corona. Let's see how many we can get through.
We're
Let's see how
going
many we
to
can get through.
really fast.
They're ready.
Remember, we haven't covered Corona directly for like 4 or 5 days now. We did a big block and then a couple follow-up stories last week. We have successfully contained the virus. On the show. It is completely contained. Yeah. So how many things have we said already that would cross that line?
Yeah, I was gonna say
medical advice or critical misinformation that might lead people to, be less likely to follow. Because I'm kind of grateful we haven't talked about ourselves being censored for a while, right? Like we haven't talked about why we're only sort of on YouTube, bouncing around different channels, avoiding the main Adam Kokesh channel. And it's because of the strike system, and that now you can get a strike for saying anything that contradicts the World Health Organization or local health authorities on COVID. And you're like, wait, they contradict each other every fucking day. They contradict themselves from day to day, if not week to week, as we've covered before. So to cut through that bullshit, to see the science underneath the propaganda, I think that's a very important part of the show. And if you say, "Oh, Adam's just Adam versus the Rona now," like, well, one, not really true. But if it's half true, we effectively are talking about Corona-related stuff half the show. I think that's totally appropriate, given that this is the biggest racket of our time. This is the biggest injustice, the source of the greatest injustices in the world today, aside from all the normal ones of statism that we talk about, that we do talk about while we're talking about this racket. Like, why does the coronavirus turn into this monstrosity through propaganda and fear-mongering that would lead you to do XYZ to exploit you? Well, why is that possible in the first place? Yes, because of the central banking system, because of corporatism, because of the mainstream media, because of the government controlling information, because of the inability of us to live up to our scientific potential, because government is in the way so many times. Like, these are all, I think these are the most important subjects of our day. This is what it means to challenge the man.
No, this is how you get suicided, your channel demonetized. This is how you end up.
That's the same thing.
Like, when you challenge, okay, fine, you're challenging the man, and we're getting the retaliation from the man. This is what we're experiencing.
What do you think happens when you fight the giant? You think you throw a rock at a giant?
No, man. Like, I just expect it to be like wrestling. They let us win one, and we win one, and then they win one. Like, it's all fake. It's all fake. So why do we pretend? This is what really bothers me, Adam. Before we get into COVID, let me ask you this. Why do each respective political party, when they politicize this shit, think their side is somehow innocent? Why do they still have that cognitive dissonance after years and years, decades of proving that either side is the better than the other side? Why do they both pretend like that is? Aren't they both misinformation? Aren't they both causing people to die? Aren't they both doing things that are genocidal? And yet they're worried about Adam versus the man, saying that, like, it makes no sense to me. Like, they pretend like they get to say you can't question World Health Authority, you can't question local authorities. Well, that local authorities is government, and that government are people that are pretending they're benevolent. And it's so why do you think that we get the shit end of the deal when they can literally murder people, but we can't say Corona? We can't say Corona more than without me having to worry about, like, oh, and by the way, my computer's freezing today. Jim, you jinxed me. So
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah, you're frozen.
Mercedes
Adam's
jinxed
frozen.
you.
It's an effect. We got to get to these tabs and start closing
Yeah,
them. That's
hundreds of them.
all right.
Let's do it.
CJ, I actually really want to answer your question first because this is a metaphor we've heard before. Glenn Jacobs, former WWE professional wrestler, now a libertarian elected mayor. I don't know if that's his current position, but he great libertarian political activist, and he has described the left-right Republican versus Democrat as a version of the staged drama with professional wrestling. And they stage that drama. Someone is behind that stage, staging that drama up front for you to see. And when we step into politics and we confront that drama, and this is, I don't know if you notice, CJ, but I don't. I think unique among a lot of libertarian pundits, or at least some, like I deliberately avoid the, I call it the palace intrigue, the especially from the Trump administration, the drama, the silliness, the personality driven distractions in the headlines that are part of this, white hat, black hat, red hat, blue hat, professional wrestling, fake drama that is put in front of us. And when we step into that, we confront that as libertarians, it's tempting to say, oh, well, we're just stepping into the drama. This is all just a show. Why can't we just, I didn't think it was serious. Well, that's not what we're doing. And it's tempting to play into that in a lot of ways and to relate to people, to try to step into that conversation, to pull people out of it. But it's not like we're going into a wrestling match like WWE and jumping on stage to be the better fighter. We're the asshole jumping up there, grabbing the mic and going, this is all fake. This is all fake. This is all fake. Get out of here. Go do something meaningful with your lives. Go confront the powers that be who are behind this bread and circuses act that is there to distract you from what's really going on. No, we're not playing for a belt anymore. This is not part of the show. What we do as libertarians is not just more political back and forth. We're playing for keeps. And it's nice in the world that we live in to be able to do it by sitting back and producing a podcast. But why are we shadow banned? Why are we censored? Why do we face these challenges? It's not because we're just another part of the show, of the drama, of the professional wrestling staged drama. No, we are seeing past that to confront those behind it. All right, so let's get into our COVID block now. Now you can play the intro. Woo! Big COVID block today on Monday, December 21st, getting you all caught up, ready to go into Christmas, where restrictions are still varied. And I can't tell you what they are in your area. You're going to have to look that stuff up for yourself. But I recommend, just generally, don't follow the advice of the political leaders who ignore their own advice. Live free, love free, be with your family, celebrate the holidays the best way you can, and don't be scared into shrinking from that love of what it means to connect with people over the holidays. But first, some political bullshit we got to get out of the way. While so many Americans cannot afford the Christmas that they want this year, don't worry, the government's going to be here to totally take care of it with a $600 check in the mail or direct deposit to your bank account. At some point in the near future, our first headline from Axios.com calls this bill that looks like it's going through now the $900 billion compromise. That's part of the staged nonsense of American politics. Oh, yeah, we compromised, and it's a good compromise because nobody got exactly what they wanted, but No, the story goes we've been talking about a second stimulus deal for months, and it's been a long time that Americans have been suffering because after the first boosted unemployment benefits and all the COVID relief checks and loans for businesses, some of which, believe it or not, went to small businesses. Most of it went to large corporations and was, I would say, pissed into the sand, but stolen from the American people to serve the purpose of government, that is the rich or the super rich getting richer at the expense of the rest of us. And this agreement now, so last night, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced both sides have finally come to an agreement. They add here, plus we could soon have self-driving taxis. Just a fun little note Axios adds in here. But to call this a compromise, it's like, if me and my buddy, rob you and one of us holds a gun to your head and one of us holds a knife to your ribs and you give us your wallet and then we compromise and we split the money in your wallet between the two of us. That's not exactly, the compromise isn't really the story there. The ripoff is the story, right? So furthermore on this, the Seattle Times has this next headline: White House secures 3 martini lunch tax deduction in draft of coronavirus relief package. Now, I'm all like, taxation is theft, right? I'm all for, whatever you want to stop stealing from people, whatever you want to use as an excuse to stop stealing from people. Hey, I'm all for it. But obviously there is a kind of manipulation and favoritism, and we're stealing from everybody, but these people a lot less. There's other reasoning at play here. In this case, the draft language of the emergency coronavirus relief package includes a tax break for corporate meal expenses pushed by the White House and denounced by congressional Democrats, according to a summary of the deal circulating among congressional officials and officials who are familiar with the provision. Now, I didn't even realize this till just now, but like looking at this, they want you to think that they're fighting over some thoughtful minutia of this bill. Like, while it's already a business expense, do we want to make it a tax deduction if you have a business, corporate meal expenses? And is it going to help the restaurant industry? Well, not really significant. Now, I told you we were going to talk about the stories of leaders not following their own rules. Got this juicy one from Breitbart.com, Dr. Deborah Birx. Does she have any kind of credibility left at this point anyway? I don't know. She seems like someone who at least might be, I don't want to say negatively impacted, but some people who put credibility in her or put any kind of faith in her might want to hear this story. Dr. Deborah Birx visited family despite own travel warning as COVID-19 cases skyrocketed before the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Dr. Deborah Birx, coordinator of the White House coronavirus response, warned Americans to be vigilant and limit celebrations to your immediate household. And the day after Thanksgiving, she traveled to one of her vacation properties on Fenwick Island in Delaware. She was accompanied by 3 generations of her family from 2 households. Birx, her husband Paige, Refi, daughter, the son-in-law, 2 young grandchildren were birthed. And there's so many of these stories now. I think I got more in the block today buried in here we're going to come back to. I mean, Fauci, everybody, Cuomo, Newsom, Pelosi. I mean, I could go on and on and on, even just off the top of my head, with the incidents that we've had over this past year of the most absurd, blatant hypocrisy. And like, there are really only a couple conclusions you can come to from this. If you believe in the mainstream corona narrative that's coming to you from these authorities who don't follow their own rules, either they all have some weird death wish, or they know something that we don't, or they've already got it and are afraid to. I mean, there's some out there explanations, but Occam's razor tells us that the most simple, obvious explanation is most likely correct. And in this case, it's as simple as these political leaders know that the virus isn't a threat, and that's why they don't take it seriously. And this is why it's a hoax, not that the virus isn't real. I've been saying this since February 1st. We did a podcast called The Coronavirus Hoax. The virus is real. And it's some version of the flu with a better publicist, okay? Is it a scale more or less deadly? Could be either way. And in some places, probably is on both sides of that. We don't know because of stories like this next one from Politico. House panel details extensive political meddling with CDC's COVID-19 reports. Yeah, no shit. And I've been telling you this since Donald Trump said publicly that he was going to ask the order. Donald Trump doesn't ask like this. Order the CDC to conduct their deliberations in private. Not private, secret. And this is the hoax, is that you reveal it just every time you see this, you know that the people who are telling you this is a threat are full of shit. They're not doing this for your best interest. Why do you tell me, please? There's some other explanation for this absurd, glaring, now more than ever laid bare, clearly destructive hypocrisy. But to this story, new documents show political appointees sought to influence at least 13 reports as they ignored warnings from career officials. Now, there's a general narrative behind this in the mainstream media of, political people in the Trump administration, they were trying to minimize the threat. No, not always. And there's a manipulation back and forth, which creates more fear and uncertainty, which serves the general interests of government, again, concentrating wealth and power in the hands of the few. So I told this whole year has been full of really predictable arcs, just one after another. And we did a whole block, was it last week, of I told you so, but this one, the new strains, the mutations, this is true about the flu too. And just a little basic background information in human biology, virology, whatever, just understanding how viruses work. They get strains, they get variations all the time. This is normal. And as they mutate, they tend to become less deadly or less damaging, because that's just the natural progression of what a virus is. And as I said, and this is kind of a big one, that this thing is going to mutate, just like the flu. We have flu A and flu B and different strains. This is why you need a vaccine every year that's different. You need that's got this year's strains and blah blah blah. So it's all the up-to-date, latest and greatest flu vaccines. So this normal development of mutations was, I said from the beginning, if they are successful at drawing this out, the fear of new strains and mutations, and it's a new strain mutated. It sounds really scary if you're a child or just have no idea what those words mean. But it's really easy to scare people who don't have even a basic understanding of science, and that's why there's a deliberate reduction in the effectiveness of government schools around a lot of this. But anyway, our next headline, Sky.com, COVID-19 new strain found in Italy, Denmark, Netherlands, Australia, and Gibraltar. Italian officials say they identified the strain in a couple who flew from the UK to Rome. Yeah. I don't think we need to get into that story anymore. Side conspiracy on this, also from the Sun.co.uk. Murder probe, top Russian COVID scientist working on vaccine found dead with stab wounds after falling from 14th floor window. Yeah, things that happen in Russia, right? Top Russian scientist who was working on a COVID-19 vaccine has been found dead in suspicious circumstances in St. Petersburg. And I'm not going to get into this one anymore. Just know that this is out there and that there's a lot of stuff like that out there. A lot of stories where, well, this is suspicious and this is crazy. And what about this? And someone died mysteriously. We don't know. A lot of these times, that we get, or a lot of in this past year, the way we've gotten headlines through Corona has been on, grains of information blown up with hypotheticals into complete news stories and fear-mongering headlines. And I don't want to tell my audience, I don't want to tell you that uncertainty is unreal, because I can't say that I'm certain about everything. And as much as I've been right in predicting stuff and seeing it coming over this last year, I know some big unknowns in my future view of the world. Like, where are we going out of it? What's the momentum? When is this going to end? Will it end? Is this just the new reality of governments under the, we had the age of the global war of terrorism, and now we have the age of bioterror. And until we fundamentally change government, this is how it's going to be until the end times. More headlines on fear of mutations. New strain of COVID-19 is driving South Africa's resurgence. That's apnews.com. So it's not just, hey, there are new strains, but they are driving a resurgence in South Africa, which means they could be driving a resurgence near you soon. Next headline from Wall Street Journal: why are so many Italians dying of COVID-19? Italy thought it could prevent a repeat of spring's tragedy, but the surging death toll suggests otherwise. Italy, the first non-Asian country hit by the coronavirus pandemic early this year, once again is struggling with one of the world's deadliest outbreaks. Around 611 people are dying of COVID-19 in Italy on an average day, behind only Brazil and the US. This year, Italy has recorded about 68,900 confirmed deaths from the virus. Now, why do they have to say confirmed there? And I don't want to get too hung up on the language here, but it's like doth protest too much, right? When people said, hey, these deaths, we don't know. They're not confirmed. They're not, we don't know if they died from or of or blah, what. But we don't know, and this is another one of the big part of the uncertainties here. And we'll come back to that when we get into the statistics in a few minutes. But first, as you knew was necessary here, we're going to have to get into talking about what's up with the vaccine. And our first headline on it is from CNN.com. Health, let's see. This is Alaska allergic reaction, coronavirus vaccine. 2 Alaska healthcare workers suffer reactions to COVID-19 vaccine. Yeah. And again, the fear mongering, I don't know that it's not all in one direction. If it was universally, be afraid of the virus, the vaccine is totally safe. Be afraid of the virus, the vaccine is totally safe. People would be like, this really smells like bullshit. But it's not. It's, well, be really, really afraid of the virus, and be so afraid of the virus that you can be brave in the face of that there are some fears with the vaccine too. And even that uncertainty around it creates a greater hook, as long as there's a clear outweighing of the fear of the vaccine with the fear of the virus itself. And that's clear. So there are some headlines and that are and my again, practical advice here, if I may. The vaccine, don't be in the first wave. It's obviously rushed. There are obviously issues with side effects. I don't think those are indisputable facts at this point. The question is, do you need it now? And can you wait, and maybe wait until there's a safer version, maybe just a version with less side effects? And some of these allergic reactions, the actual anaphylactic response to the vaccine, have been pretty limited. It's not like people are dropping dead from the vaccine left and right. I mean, it is at least relatively safe. I mean, compared to getting shot in the face. But the vaccine is not. I don't want to say is it not poison, because it is, and we don't know the common side effects of being laid out for a day after the second shot intense flu-like symptoms for a short duration, things like that. Do we know if there are longer-term effects? No. And yeah, I hate to say that there's a sort of poetic justice or appropriateness to this, but it looks like federal employees are going to be among the favored class who gets early access to the vaccine. Let's see how it goes with them. All right, I'm not pro-vaccine. I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm pro smart vaccines. I'm against this idea that you can make a vaccine now and not face liability if you seriously harm and injure someone with it. And anytime they bake that into the cake about, oh, here's this vaccine that you might be required to have, and by the way, if we maim you or kill you or hurt you somehow with it, you can't sue us because we say so in advance, and government is protecting us from that liability. You go, yeah, homie, don't play that, something like that. No, at least sit back and wait before rushing in to get the vaccine. I would implore you, and unless you have some specific reason, and I get it, I can't say this is a universal because there are a lot of people under duress, as we said, but we'll get to that. Under duress, we have also from foxbusiness.com, single Michigan mother of 6, fined $1,000 per day for keeping cafe open. A cafe that employs 30 people has defied state restrictions. And this is Michigan's health department fining a mother of 6 $1,000 per day for keeping her cafe open. I hope she, figures out a way to not pay this. And there are a lot of people, who are facing these kinds of things to keep their businesses going or their lives going or whatever it is. And I don't think any of this is going to hold up in court. And I just before you assume in your own life that there is a threat behind something, if they say, well, we're going to fine you $1,000 a day for XYZ, before you go, well, let me just bow down and say I can't afford that. Well, how much would it cost to have a lawyer to beat this? How much would it cost to just do this in my business's name and then declare them bankrupt at the end of the threat and then create a new business? And you see, there are plenty of ways around. Don't take these threats as ironclad or just exactly what they appear as. Another quick sidebar conspiracy thing here. Brandy Vaughn, anti-vaxxer and founder of Learn the Risk, is found dead. And yeah, links in the notes with all of this if you want to get into this. This is Vaughn, the founder of Learn the Risk, a nonprofit organization she founded in response to one of the nation's first mandatory vaccination for education law, SB 277 in California. And again, the thing about mandatory vaccines, are they going to mandate these? Well, it's not that we're going to force them on you, so you can't call it a forced vaccination. It's just, well, it's mandatory if your kid goes to a government school. It's mandatory if you're going to ride on a bus. It's mandatory if you're going to get on an airplane. It's mandatory if you're going to go into a DMV and get a driver's license. It's mandatory if you're going to go to a concert. That's how it's mandatory for your job. You don't have to work here. But yeah, and so there are a lot of ways that we're going to get, bullied into. Incredibly credible as a former sales rep for Merck, selling Vioxx, a painkiller that was found to double the risk of stroke and heart attacks, as well as her experience living in Europe for 8 years, led to the realization that the American pharmaceutical industry doesn't care about health, just about making money. So, cause of death is unknown at this time, but her young son found her dead, apparently. So, who knows what's going on with that? There will be more. Now, remember, I got the test, the blood prick 15-minute result test in months ago. And it was supposed to be approved by the FDA and declined at the last minute. Now, we have this headline from apnews.com: over-the-counter home test for COVID-19 gets U.S. green light. They had to wait until the right people bought them all. The ones who sent me a test to promote this as a possibility so that y'all would know that this was technically available, was denied so that they could now allow whoever is going to be benefiting from this. Australian manufacturer Ellume, Ellume, said it expects to produce 3 million tests next January. Excuse me, next month before ramping operation of the first half of 2021. Sorry, my screen froze. I'm getting a note from CJ here. It says links to your phone tracked by the government. Yeah, right. So, this with this test, yes. A company spokes. Let's see, where is the links to your? That's an important part about this is that, yeah, there's links to your phone. That's yeah. All right. These symptoms, from Newsbreak, these two symptoms are the first true signs of a COVID-19 infection. And they just, one is loss of smell and taste, and that those occur before everything else. So something to actually look out for. It looks like they've got that one sort of scientifically decided. We've got our guest joining us in just a few minutes, and I still have a few stories to get through on our COVID block, believe it or not. But we'll go really fast through these. CJ, let me know when our guest is online. From Reuters, majority of small U.S. businesses see worse coronavirus impact still ahead, according to a poll. From CNN.com, let's see. I'm sorry, this one's not loading on mine.
Well, that's a good segue, Adam. I'll let you know the guest is here. How about that?
Oh, okay. All right. We're gonna have to split our Corona block and come back. I wasn't able to do it. What did I get? Like halfway through?
Yeah, pretty close.
2/3 of the way through. God damn. Yeah. Well, so we do have some more critical things we got to get into with Corona here. But thank you for that, CJ. Give me a minute here to pull this up and get ready. Before we get to our guest, since we did just do a huge Corona blog, let's do a quick check-in with Jim, shall we? Mr. Freedom.
Okay. All right. Yep.
Mr.
I'm
Freedom
here. I wasn't expecting to be on because I know there was a jam-packed session you were doing before the guest. D. Vincent W. regarding the vaxes points out if they are immune to lawsuits from the side effects from their vax, that is a warning. That is what you call a red flag, right?
So many red flags.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see what we got. Let me scroll back up here. Christopher the living man says, I'm all for a good heated debate. What you got that I can disagree with? Go to Make Them Debate and check that out and set it up. Yeah. Propose an idea for a debate. That's the point. That's what you're supposed to do. 1054 asks a good one. He says, any chance you'll have cigars and planetary alignments tonight?
Ooh, we'll see. It's Monday. I might. Yeah, I'll have, because I have another phone I can broadcast from. So yeah, we'll see. If not, I will be posting stuff as I get to it. Like as we get pictures and stuff tonight. I always have fun with that. I did a fun little workout video yesterday, working out outside in the cold.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. Doing your lunges with the bar on your back.
Yep.
Yeah, that was cool. Real quick here, Christopher also says something about Phoenix here. He says, I hear Phoenix broke their previous 31-year-old record for 144 days over 100 degrees, one whole day over the old record, and that they're blaming climate change for it, LOL. To clear that up, since I live in Phoenix, the way this is being skewed anyways, in my opinion, I don't know why you're focusing on that record, because the real record everybody was talking about around here was the days that were over 110. And that's the one that we shattered. We shattered that record retardedly. So he might want to look into that more. That's all I want to say on that.
Well, but Jim, what's the reason? You don't buy the Phoenix because of climate change narrative, do you?
I'm not going to sit here and go on a rant about, climate changes. We're going to be in an ice age, in the next 10 years or whatever. But I think it's foolish to think that humans don't have an impact on increasing the speed of the Earth's natural process, increasing the speed of the Earth, you know, needing to say, okay, this is enough pollution and correct itself. You know what I mean? Because the Earth is a big enough organism to shake us off like fleas, you know, and then continue living as a planetary object, you know. So when we do reach that tipping point, whatever it is, I'm not suggesting that we're at, you know, that it would happen in my lifetime. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, you know, but it's going to happen sooner because of humans than it would have if we weren't consciously aware of recycling and using solar and et cetera, getting rid of fossil fuels and all that. It seems painfully obvious to me and a slap in the face that we're still on fossil fuels right now. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, I do blame humans for climate change. Yeah, it would have happened on its own, but we are definitely speeding it up. We have to be. I took a picture of Phoenix the other day. There was a fire going on in the off in the distance, right? There was a fire in the distance. I'll put it up here so you can see. But look at that fog in Phoenix. That's not the smoke. That's not the fire.
That's just a regular layer of
So you
smog.
see, yeah, that's a layer of smog. And you're gonna tell me humans aren't having an effect on this planet? You know? Yeah. Okay. All right. But yeah, that's it.
All right, let's get to our guest then. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us today is whistleblower Patrick Stupfel, and he has been exposing what's going on in Portland, especially with Ted Wheeler. Patrick, welcome to the show. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Could it be better? Well, I could be a lot better actually. Let me get this right. So yeah, you heard the story first. FTW, get your FTW swag. I would know it. I can say it because I used to advise Ted Wheeler and Sam Adams, the former pedophile mayor, and governors, all sorts of people, all the way up to founding members of the Clinton Global Initiative, who run Davos. So I'm their protege who got away. And I can say this because Ted Wheeler caused a racist backstabbing and almost got me murdered 3 years ago. Yeah.
Well, hold on, Patrick. Before we get in, I know that this is one of those overwhelming stories of hard to, stuff on the edge of credibility. So I want you to establish your credibility first. And, you talk about being your work with these individuals professionally. So can you give your relevant personal background on that and how you came to that professional relationship first?
Absolutely. So normally I wear a suit and tie, and for anybody who wants to check out my work, don't listen to me. Check me out online. Just Google Patrick Stupfel or check me out on LinkedIn. My references are kind of embarrassing. There's a clip on YouTube actually of the granddaughter of JCPenney, kind of the billionaire who lives next door hiding in plain sight, Alyssa Kenny Geyer, introducing me on the House floor, reading my resume like I'm the second coming of Jesus Christ. It's embarrassing how much these people fought over me and vied for me as their protege. So I definitely have a resume, and she tried to actually get this banned off the internet.
Hold on, Patrick. I'm sorry. I want to back up and make sure that every part of your story, because it's sort of backed up here. Where were you born, grow up, education, what led you to that point of being fought over? Obviously, you had some academic achievements. It was just like, because you're pretty, we want you to stand next to your suit, right?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. People are often wondering, how the hell is this possible that you're a protege of leaders of Davos and you're so willing to say fuck Ted Wheeler? Well, I'm from Felony Flats, kind of a crappy neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. Now, Felony Flats is not Compton. They think they're hard, but they're not. But it is like the sketchy underbelly of Portland. And I like Felony Flats because I grew up in the School of Hard Knocks with no help from really my family. But my uncle should be noted, the ambassador to Ecuador, who led the charge against Julian Assange. So I grew up kind of blacklisted out the get-go because, my dad kind of was a fan of people like you, Adam. And so I learned child and Felony Flats, a lot of information about Hillary Clinton from a young age. And so that's kind of why my parents split up when I was young, and my East Coast family, my uncle, who's the ambassador to Ecuador, they kind of ruined my dad's life and by default kind of ruined my life. So I kind of grew up with a lot of information being downloaded about the cabal, the elites, and the 1%. Isolated in Felony Flats, growing up in poverty. So it was kind of interesting when years later, when I went to college. Well, really, I went to military high school. I'll keep it real. I bounced around from a lot of schools in this sketchy neighborhood. Kind of how would you say it? A rebel, but yet a scholar. Always intellectual, always a sweetheart kid. But I had knives pulled on me in 6th grade, many times, like in Felony Flats, just for being a ginger in a neighborhood that predominantly was not, it wasn't a white neighborhood. So I grew up with a very hard upbringing. And yet I still had a lot of intellectual beliefs. And so I chose to go to military high school, and that's really what it all led to. My grandfather was a colonel in the Army, fought in World War II in Korea, Vietnam, and this is one of his dog tags. So I kind of knew that I was a fuck up and a skater punk, a fan of yours when I was younger. And so shout out to your video of when you were dancing in the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. So around the time of 2010 or something like that, 2011, 13, I was watching all these kind of things as a skater punk. But I was like, okay, clearly I can't do anything with my life if I don't graduate high school. So I chose to follow my grandfather's footsteps. He went to the Citadel before World War II. And when I was senior in high school and had 5 credits to smoke weed all day doing nothing, I was bored. I wasn't intellectually stimulated. So I chose to go to military high school and follow my grandfather's footsteps. And excelled from there. Kind of top of my class. I would fuck with the military drill instructors' heads just to show them how dedicated I was to changing my life for the better. So I just became militantly perfectionist and growth oriented. So that got me noticed by a lot of people in the state of Oregon at a young age. Senior in high school, all of a sudden going to military school, becoming the best cadet, and ultimately going back to Portland Public Schools with wild accolades. And from there, senior year of high school, I met the superintendent of the largest school district in the state of Oregon, Carol Smith. And I have a letter of recommendation from her to this day. You can find it then online as well. But from there, it's a really small pond in Portland, Oregon. It's, when you have the letter of recommendation from the largest school district superintendent in the Northwest, and you're already working with her on the budget committee as a student representative, they kind of look for their little token minions that they can promote. Because honestly, when they die, they want a protege to hand the baton to, really. That's how politics works. It's really corrupt. It's really shady. And I know this. And so I'm like, okay, clearly they want me in politics. They want to mold me and groom me. But what they didn't know, Adam, what they did not know is I read The Art of War when I was in military high school. And I read a lot of letters from my grandpa, who was a boss in the military. And I figured I'm not going to be a libertarian in Portland politics if I start, talking about that out loud. These elites won't allow that. So I kind of just know thy enemy, if you know what I mean, kept my mouth shut real tight and allowed them to kind of just throw me opportunities one after another, being articulate and eloquent. I need to learn to be more concise, of course, but I was pretty articulate and eloquent back then and more concise. I just don't care anymore. So they threw me on they put my face on the side of buses for ad campaigns for the school districts. I was reviewing the budget, a board-appointed member for the budget committee as a high school student. And they asked me to come back as a legitimate full-fledged member when I went on to college. There's a lot of boss level people who kind of groomed me and mentored me on my way up. And so from there, I got a scholarship to go to the largest college in Oregon.
I just want to point out that there's someone. I was thinking that you're being groomed, you are now so there, and a lot of people would hear that word and assume that it means something more hard to believe or specific than that. But groomed could just be that you caught the interest of a handful of muckety mucks with some power in Portland who said, let's build this guy up and keep him on our team and make sure that he's a good government operative, either as a politician or a bureaucrat. And you could say, well, no, maybe Patrick just was successful on that career path and got the attention of a handful of people who then, helped him out. It could be but I would say that's once they have a deliberate effort of, I want this guy to be in some position somewhere to serve my agenda. That's a kind of grooming, and that's a very commonplace phenomenon.
Absolutely, Adam. And very well said. And the funniest thing is, I still to this day am finding out deep, dark, fucking bad secrets about the people who I worked with. Like, I knew some of the things. Like, I knew the granddaughter of J.C. Penney was pretending to be like a Prius driving hippie state legislator. When I went to intern in Salem, when you showed one of the clips earlier from my experience down in Salem, when I went to intern for the granddaughter of J.C. Penney, she didn't want anyone to know who she was. I looked her up, of course. I'm not going to get into politics without looking up who I'm going to intern for. But they clearly didn't look up who I was, or, well, not to the degree. I caught their interest big time, but they're kind of lazy. Like at the top of the pyramid, they're kind of lazy. So I knew a lot more about her than she knew about me. I knew that she was the granddaughter of J.C. Penney, but in that video, she didn't even know that I knew. It's like 3 months after I met her. But I waited till about 4 months after I met her to just kind of casually, as we're carpooling out of Salem, Oregon, we happened to drive past the J.C. Penney. I'm like staring out the window, and I just casually say, "Hey, ain't that your granddad's store?" And dude, oh my God, she brake checked and like interrogated the shit out of me. Like her mask came off like Scooby-Doo in a demon show, and she's like, "How did you know that?" I'm like, "Whoa, lady, shit! Like, it's on Google. I do this for 3 months, 4 months now. Like, doesn't everyone else in the car here know this?"
And so what was her name? What was her position at the time?
So her name is Alyssa Kenny Geyer, and for the people watching, this is like an Edward Snowden moment, real dead ass, like on point. I'm ripping the mask off of somebody who does not want you to know who she is. So we're talking about Alyssa Kenny Geyer, and she is the granddaughter of J.C. Penney, and she kind of likes to be known as just a little state representative for House District 46 in Portland, Oregon, and that's actually where I grew up. And so, funny story, I was listening to my dad tell me a lot about politics, and telling me the stories of Hillary Clinton. But little did I know, on the other side of Mount Tabor, which is a little park mountain in Portland, just on the other side of that mountain, in the same legislative district I was growing up in, was a founding member of the Clinton Global Initiative. So like Beto O'Rourke and people like that, they like to say stupid things like, "I was born for this." Nah, you ain't born for shit. Actually, I could skate better than you, Beto, so I'll challenge you to skate at Burnside any day. I bet he can't even drop in at Burnside. But if anybody's born for this shit, it's me, because I literally like knew all this shit, like isolated in poverty. And then I come to find out like years later, on my own merit, I become the protege of a founding member of the CGI. And damn it, I'm gonna rip the mask off like Scooby-Doo.
So what's her bigger racket as a state rep? Like, I don't mean to be skeptical here, but it makes a lot of sense that if you wanted to steer government to profit yourself, that you would want someone as a state rep able to steer legislation to your benefit, either in the budgetary or regulatory issues. So what's she really up to? What's the objective of this? She's already got money.
Let me ask you a question to answer that question, Adam. If you were one of the most powerful people in the world, you run the World Economic Forum, you have billions, you're the granddaughter of James Cash Payne, what do you do with your time to do anything? What would you choose to do? Would you want people to know you're rich? What's up?
Something that makes me feel important.
Absolutely. These are retiree jobs. It's very well known in Salem that it's always old white people who are in the legislature. It's a retirement job. When people are bored, they go do something. So she didn't get into the legislature until, well, I don't even know. She's older, 60s, I guess. She didn't get into the legislature until her like retiree years. So she worked in public health. You want to talk about Dr. Fauci, people like that. This woman actually knows Bill Gates personally and Dr. Fauci and all that. She went to Stanford and the University of Hawaii, and she's in public health. So what she's really up to, I mean, it's just a hiding position. I mean, she gets a lot of clout and she can do things to the legislature, of course, but she runs Davos with her husband, Neil Kenny Geyer. And really, honestly, I'll tell you one thing that she told me personally. She's a globalist. She likes to tinker in everything all around the world, like ripping off Haiti. Her husband wrote the plan to rip off Haiti. I have a photo of him writing it inside the World Economic Forum. So she's stupid enough to take that photo and put it on Facebook. Again, like I said, some of these globalists are really lazy and sometimes really stupid. Because, well, if you're the most powerful person in the world, a lot of people are afraid to talk to you. I'm a real one. I'll tell you where the hell I want to tell you. And I'll tell you, even the security at Davos was afraid to tell her, don't take that photo. You might be taking photos of bad shit. Well, to quote what's his name? Peter Schweitzer, and who else? Dinesh D'Souza. They did a great documentary called Clinton Cash about the ripping off of Haiti. Was a segment about the ripping off of Haiti in Clinton Cash. I'd love to do a Clinton Cash 2.0 with some people like that because they don't even know who wrote the plan to rip off Haiti. And guess what? I got the photo of them writing that shit from inside Davos because people are stupid and put things on Facebook. And security at Davos, like I said, were too afraid to even tell that woman, don't do that. So one last thing I want to say is, like, for anybody who does not believe what I'm saying, look up Mercy Corps and Neil Kenny Dyer. He got exposed and Spartan kicked out of Mercy Corps, which is the largest NGO in the world, a few years ago for covering up Epstein-level connections. But I'll stop there.
Well, all right. So, Patrick, how does this get us to Ted Wheeler?
Great question. It's a crazy story because, like I said, I know all these people. I met Ted Wheeler when I was in Salem in 2013. He was the state treasurer back then. I actually kind of knew him elliptically before that, even when he was just a little county commissioner. So, of course, jumping around here, I've worked with people bigger than Ted Wheeler. Like I said, the founding members of the Clinton Global Initiative, who run the World Economic Forum, who hide in plain sight. So Ted Wheeler ain't shit to me. Like, I know who I've advised. I know the clout that I've had. I don't give a shit about you, Ted Wheeler. You may be a millionaire and a timber heir to afford timber money, but I don't care. Again, Ted Wheeler is just like Alyssa Kenny Dyer to a degree. He has hella money. He trust fund baby. He doesn't know what to do with his life. So he just chooses to do something that makes his family look important. Oh, yeah, we're billionaires. I guess I should get married. We should continue the family arrogance and get a position somewhere. I love that photo. So, yeah, I know Ted because, well, worked in politics. And I kind of like Ted. I used to. He's more rational than some of the insane people who run government here. And a lot of even Republicans like Ted Wheeler. Well, this is the big problem, is when I had to completely turn on Ted Wheeler. Ted Wheeler caused a racist terrorist attack in 2017. Now, that's volatile language. I know some people are like, what? What are you talking about? Well, back it up to the Jeremy Christian Max Train stabbings. Well, you could back it up even further to enter Joey Gibson, Patriot Prayer. In 2017, they were going to be marching through Alyssa Kenny Dyer's district. And this is you're seeing on screen right now the guy was stabbed in the neck in this racist terrorist attack, Michael Fletcher. I made this interview happen on the Oregon Voters Digest, and that's the interview that no news agency in Portland wants you to actually watch or hear because it damns Ted Wheeler. Ted Wheeler tried to blame patriots for the Max stabbing and tried to say this guy named Jeremy Christian who stabbed people was indeed a patriot. No, he wasn't. He was a Bernie Sanders supporter. And Ted Wheeler tried to politicize the whole stabbing, and he tries to use the words of Micah Fletcher. Well, that backfired because I actually called Micah Fletcher and said, hey, man, you're a real one like me. I work with high-level people, and I know Ted Wheeler and Kate Brown and all these people, and they're trying to use your face and your story to blame patriots. And I'm not left or right. I'm politically homeless. I'm a whistleblower. I'm a unifier. I look at the issues. But I knew it wasn't Joey Gibson. And so I'm like, what do we do about this, Micah? So Micah Fletcher, gentleman who was stabbed in the neck in this terrorist attack, he gets on TV and blames Ted Wheeler explicitly. And this is the big key. Ted Wheeler is the mayor of Portland, Oregon. Everybody should know that by now. But more importantly, this is the key that most people don't know. In Portland, Oregon, our system of governance is so messed up that the mayor is also the police commissioner. Yeah, I just said that. The mayor is the police commissioner also in Portland.
Right.
Can you imagine how corrupt that could be? So not only corruption, but if I don't like you, I'm going to send the cops after you if I'm the mayor. That's what he can do. But the scariest thing is the stand-down orders. Ted Wheeler is so stupid that he lets like crazy people run around. And Jeremy Christian, bless his heart, I don't attack anybody with mental illness. I'm an advocate for mental health and addiction therapy and all that kind of stuff. But you can't let certain people who have a rap sheet longer than your leg, a violent rap sheet, continue to walk the streets. This guy, Jeremy Christian, you're seeing on the screen, literally attacked bouncers at strip clubs with baseball bats and is on video stabbing people in the shoulders. But the cops never arrested him. So anyways, enter 2017, when Joey Gibson was marching down the street through Alyssa Kenny Dyer's district, I did a speech of solidarity. at that,
Hey Patrick,
Patriot
I'm
March.
I'm sorry to interrupt, man. I'm getting a lot of that noise in the background. It sounds like someone like trying to talk over you.
Sorry, I'm over here at Union Station, so there's like a lot of random people talking in the background here.
Okay, we just got a little loud there for a while, but go ahead.
So I'll try to keep it more concise. 2017, Ted Wheeler ordered a stand down, so broad that crazy people were allowed to walk the streets. And this gentleman, Jeremy Christian, ends up threatening me because I did a speech at a unity march on prison reform. I tried to get Antifa and the Patriots to kind of stop yelling at each other and just talk about some libertarian issues, maybe smoke a peace blunt and talk about prison reform. Well, that got all sidetracked when Jeremy Christian shows up at this march waving a baseball bat, yelling the N-word, just inciting a riot almost. It was crazy. Trying to psyop the Patriot movement to look racist, trying to challenge Antifa into a fight. And I'm over here trying to like build bridges. And I'm like, crap, now this all looks like a racist march. I can't deal with this. And he threatens me. Jeremy literally threatens me explicitly. And I'm like, okay, I'm not a cop caller, but somebody's got to arrest this guy. Like, when you grow up in felony class and you know there's certain levels of crazy you don't mess with, that's immediately what I knew. I was like, somebody needs to arrest this dude and kill somebody. I just knew that. But they didn't arrest him on the spot at the first Joe Gibson march. And I have video of me asking the cops, you're going to take this dude off the streets and kill somebody. They didn't do it because of Ted Wheeler stand downs. Anyways, a month goes by, or like a couple weeks since that march, and he starts hunting me down in Portland, explicitly threatening me online. And again, this is reported in the Oregonian newspaper. I actually did an article with Oregonian. They did some FOIA requests on my behalf to the police department. They asked, did Patrick actually call this in? Yeah, indeed I did. I called in like a month before this racist stabbing happened. And I reported that he was hunting me online and saying he's looking for me in person. He wanted to kill me. So I'm like extremely traumatized. And, excuse my language, but I'm not a pussy. But at the same time, I'm traumatized because I knew he was real and was going to kill me. I knew he was hunting me for a month. And then I got traumatized, extremely worse in retrospect, when I indeed found out that my calls weren't heeded and he killed people in the most horrific stabbing in recent history. So concisely what happens is I call the cops. Nothing happens because Ted Wheeler stand down orders. And many police have said they knew about Jeremy. They wanted to take him off the streets, but Ted Wheeler would not let them. So when they didn't listen to my calls, that was one thing. There's many other people he threatens. Many other people he threatens. And the cops stood down because of Ted Wheeler, the police commissioner. Miller. And so you're watching right now the stabbing attack. Micah Fletcher, my friend, gets up in his face and says, dude, get off this train, you drunk, crazy racist. Because what happened is this drunk, crazy racist gets on the train and yells these racist slurs and rants at these two black girls. And it goes on for like a couple minutes, and eventually some people intervene and say, dude, get the racist rants off the train. And he wasn't listening to these people. So Micah Fletcher stands right in his face and says, you're going to get off this train. I'm going to push you off this train. And some things happen. Well, pushing happens. And then Micah Fletcher gets stabbed in the neck. Like, he has a scar that looks like he almost got his head chopped off by it. He's lucky he didn't get stabbed more than once. He was bleeding out, and this is carotid artery by an inch, or millimeter or something. But two other people jump up to defend Micah Fletcher after he was stabbed in the neck. And they immediately just get stabbed, like Call of Duty shit, like face, neck, brain, head. Too graphic to even explain. Slash and stab, just horror show. And these two black girls who were just harassed by this crazy guy are sitting there in horror because they didn't know if they were going to be next and who was going to be next. He just stabbed some dude in the neck, Micah, and they thought he was dead at that point. They didn't know what was going on. It happened so fast. Like, Micah gets stabbed in the neck, and then two people jump up to defend him, and they get stabbed to death instantly. Like 10 stabs each in the whole face neck area. And that's all preventable. It's the most horrifying stabbing attack in recent history. And that's why I do call it the most racist terrorist attack in recent history. And I know those girls because I know Pastor Miniweather. He's one of the most boss OG black pastors in Portland. He runs a recovery center. And Pastor Miniweather is respected in Black Portland. But when his granddaughters got attacked by Jeremy Christian, and he told the truth about how it was Ted Wheeler's fault. Ted Wheeler tried to ruin Pastor Miniweather's life, kicked him out of his own organization because they control people with grant money. And, well, Luckily, Pastor Manyweather said, "Screw that! I'm gonna go start my own church." Excuse me, I got some folks over here. So Pastor Manyweather's granddaughters were on that train. So I'm friends with Pastor Manyweather. I'm friends with Michael Fletcher, the stabbing victim. I'm even friends with Snoop Dogg's uncle, who has a restaurant 4 blocks away from where the stabbing happened. So I thought,
Yeah, you want to talk about this? This is hold on. This switching gears for a second. This is the totally different incident with Snoop Dogg's uncle's restaurant in Portland, Rio's Ribs, right?
Yeah. So jumping back to current news, Rio's Ribs was just firebombed by some crazy racist terrorists. I don't know who did it, but it looks like some crazy chick. Kind of feels she's Antifa or rogue faction Antifa. And I know a lot of people on all sides, so I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying, y'all out there who are on Black Bloc side need to get those motherfuckers who just burnt down Rio's Ribs. So I put the word out.
Hold on a second. A lot of the terminology is somewhat sensationalist, and every time you say racist, terrorist, whatever, it's like, well, does it qualify as that? And all these, you go, yeah. But it sounds like in something like this, there are more political and personal motivations than racist motivations. Not that there isn't racism involved, but it doesn't seem like the motivating factor. Am I misunderstanding that?
Yeah, you definitely are, because I don't like people either who use volatile words. And mind you, like I have the recommendations for all these elites. I'm very poised and eloquent, and I don't use volatile language. So you got to ask the question: why did the guy wearing a suit and tie with all the letters of recommendations of these elites start printing "fuck Ted Wheeler" hats, hoodies, and start talking volatile? Because it's all real. It's that real that it pissed off a real one like me, and now I'm wearing "fuck Ted Wheeler" hats and hoodies instead of a suit and tie. And I'm just calling it how it is, a spade a spade. So really, when you have a crazy racist dude yelling at 2 black girls on a train, read the audio transcripts yourself, or watch the video yourself. You could hear him yelling hella racist stuff. And
no, hold on. The setup to that. I'm not saying, and the same thing with the restaurant. Like that, the individuals carrying it out weren't acting alone. If I grab a racist and put him in front of someone and convince him to attack them because I don't like the guy because he's a threat to me politically, I'm using a racist to commit what is fundamentally more a politically motivated attack because I'm the one behind it.
I see.
You see how I'm just separating those concepts?
I see what you're saying. My bad, I misconstrued that. Yeah, so I guess what you're alluding to is the question is, did Ted really have a role in this? I don't know, but it's very convenient because everybody knows that I had called the granddaughter at JCPenney before Joey Gibson wanted to have a Patriot March. And I told Alyssa Kinnegar, hey, there's this guy, Joey Gibson. I think he's a libertarian. I think I'm going to go check it out and march with him and see if I can build bridges on prison reform. And so I had told her before this whole march where Jeremy Christian first shows his face. So it was very weird that she didn't show up to the march. She's a leader of Davos. Well, she does like global psyops. Like her husband was in Benghazi. He's on video with Ronan Farrow bragging about sowing the seeds of chaos, hoping they would revolt in Benghazi before Benghazi fell. Dead ass, look it up. So they do psyops on a global level, this family, Kenny Geyer family. And Jeremy Christian himself, when he threatens me on the internet, says in a heated rage, because I was trolling him, he says, I was a psyop. Well, let's fast forward to Project Veritas when they said, or when they had people on video saying, we pay crazy people to do things all the time. That's a fact. Look at Project Veritas's video where they have, there's like a high-level DNC guy. He says on video, we pay crazy people to do things. So when Jeremy Christian says on Facebook, threatening me that he was a psyop, was he really just crazy rambling, or was he trying to like egotistically flaunt that he wasn't crazy? I'm not crazy. I was a psyop. Like, yeah, you are crazy, bro, but maybe you were a psyop. Like, you're telling us that explicitly. Why? So one thing about Ted Wheeler and the march I was talking about. So I had already warned Alyssa Kinnegar, this globalist, that there was going to be a march. And instead of saying I opposed it, I said, I'm going to go check it out. And I did. And she wasn't there. But Ted Wheeler was. Ted Wheeler shows up to this march and gets cussed out of the park. He thought he was going to have a grip and grin photo op with Antifa. And no, they cussed him out the park. Fuck you, Ted. It was hella funny. It's on my Instagram. You can see the video on my stories. Suit and tie skater guy. And so he disappears, though. Ted Wheeler gets cussed out of the park and disappears with his cop buddies literally like 2 minutes before this crazy racist walks into the park, sucking up all the media attention. It's like a vacuum. Ted Wheeler just dips out real quick, and this crazy guy shows up, waving a bat, yelling the N-word. They even had him wearing a flag on his back, and just like I had been wearing. So I'm like, what? Are you trying to make us all look like racists and terrorists? You can't do that to me. I work with Ted Wheeler, Alyssa Kenny Geyer. If you go and try to make me look like a racist and I'm their protege, well, then I'll march on their house and call them out for that shit, because you're not going to psyops me. So yeah, man, a lot of these things had happened. The Max stabbing, and more recently, the burning of Rio's ribs last month. And so it is very sensationally sounding. But check it out. The reason why Rio's ribs connects to this Max stabbing, Snoop Dogg's uncle, is because I thought to myself on a highest level, how are we going to break the back of these cover-ups? How are we going to expose these globalists when they have a tight-knit iron fist grip on every single news channel, every single politician? It's a real tight-knit group. It's an interlocking directorate. And I was lucky to even infiltrate it and get in there. But I got blacklisted because I called out the fact that I could be dead because of lying Ted. And by the way, will the real lying Ted please stand up? I'm also going to have like lying Ted shirts. Will the real lying Ted please stand up?
Yeah, which lying Ted is more destructive in power right now? Well, Patrick, before we get to kind of wrapping things up with that, bigger picture understanding, because a lot of this, a lot.
It's confusing.
What's that?
It's a bit confusing for those who aren't familiar with it.
I know, and if you really want to understand Patrick's story fully, you're going to have to do some research on some of these players. And I mean, for me to see, names and faces and to be able to read through all that might get me a better understanding. But I mean, I look at this, and what you're offering is a rare insight to a relatively common phenomena of political corruption at the state and local level in America, right? I mean, none of this is like, oh, and that's why Portland, Oregon is uniquely screwed up. No, this is like you apply the analysis of this, of Patrick's story with these players in Oregon, with Ted Wheeler, and what if I had that insight, how much better would I understand things in my area, or the nature and texture of government corruption as a whole? So, but Patrick, quick sidebar question here, just since you might have some insight to this. The fires that were set in Oregon, or the wildfires that were going on in Oregon earlier this year, any sense of political motivation or arson with those? Have you looked into that?
Big time. That was Antifa. Now, can I really say that out loud? Well, I dare a group or an ideology to sue me. I dare just an ideology to sue me for saying that, but they ain't gonna sue me because it's true. I move in many circles, Adam, and I'm respected by a lot of hard-ass people on all sides. Because I'm a whistleblower, I became homeless. My own family kicked me out because, again, I'm gonna blow the whistle on my own damn uncle, who is the ambassador to Ecuador, and my family knows that because he's been involved with bad shit. He was in the room when Benghazi happened. He was in the room, that's a whole nother story. Like I said, I grew up in Felony Flats, isolated because I'm a real one, and my mom's side of the family does not want me being a whistleblower, standing with people like Julian Assange. So I got kicked out this May and became homeless. And I said, fuck it, I'll go protest. And so I became friends with a lot of people in front of the Justice Center. Every single thing you've seen about the Justice Center in Portland, the protest, I've been in the middle of all of it. So I know a lot of Antifas, I know a lot of Black Lives Matter leaders, and they're not the same. There's a lot of different feelings between all different groups about all sides. So that needs to be clear. Some Antifas hate Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter hates Antifas. Some of them are cool. Some of them are not. It's very mixed bag. And then you have guys like me who are like the John Wick Peace Hotel, because I'm a solidarity guy. I move in all these different groups and I attack the issues we agree upon. That's why I'm not fucked with, and that's why I'm cool with everybody. But I draw a hard line on some things, like the people who burnt down Rio's ribs. Rio stood with me and the stabbing victim against Ted Wheeler, and the news didn't cover that. So the fires this summer, I do believe, are related to the same kind of action that happened at Rio's ribs. Kate Brown, This is connected to the macro and the micro. Agenda 21, they want to literally take a lot of the minerals in the western states. That's why they attacked the Bundys so hard when the Bundys actually tried to take over the Malheur Refuge, because they were trying to economically starve out anybody who was in any kind of rural area. Because if you look at the macro, connect the macro to the micro, the local issues are not isolated in an echo chamber or a vacuum. They are connected. So when you see the almost the UN forces attacking the small band of patriots in Eastern Oregon, it's because they wanted to strip mine Harney County for uranium-1. Check out uranium-1. Look at the documents. I've read them all. And it's connected to the Kenny Geyer family and the globalists at the top that I know. So the fires this summer are just like how they attacked White and Stephen Hammond in Eastern Oregon. They were the last ranch in the area on top of a huge uranium deposit. They needed to get rid of those ranchers. And they had successfully gotten rid of every single ranching family in the Eastern Oregon area near Dwight and Stephen Hammond. They were the last family that had not sold out to the Bureau of Land Management. What was the Bureau of Land Management going to do with all that land after all the families were gone? Probably maybe sell uranium to Russia, uranium-1. Check it out, look it up, not joking. So the fires this summer, think of it as a proxy war. Kate Brown's brown shirts, if you will, goes around and starts lighting fires in all their political opposition's hometowns. Notice that you didn't see fire bombings around Kate Brown's neighborhood. You did see a firebombing at Ted Wheeler's neighborhood in his house this summer, but that's because everyone hates Ted Wheeler, and even Antifa hates Ted Wheeler.
All right. Well,
but
Patrick, you're
think
also
of it as Soros's armies.
So jumping ahead to that big picture, then you're the founder of Millennials for Solidarity. What are you doing with that, and what are you hoping to achieve?
So really what I'm trying to achieve is, for one, I want to raise money so that we can bring people together and actually tackle these issues on a higher level, on a higher platform. I'm honestly grateful that I'm on your show because, like I said, I learned all of this global corruption as I was a secret fan of yours. So to meet you on my own merit years later and not just be a fanboy, it's actually pretty dope. So what Millennials of Solidarity is, though, segueing to that, is we build bridges on the tough issues that politicians ignore. I walked away from the highest level people in politics because of the Bundy standoff. I said, you should be shaking hands with them on prison reform, Kate Brown, but you're attacking them. That don't make sense. I'm going to go stand with them on the issues. So that's initially how I founded Millennials for Solidarity, in the very living room of the granddaughter of J.C. Penney, on her couch. She wanted me to focus on more cute things like Humans in New York, take somebody's photo and do a bio about them. But I'm like, I want the real meat. I want to actually sit down with people and tackle the issues. So I founded Millennials of Solidarity because I do believe that the Bundys were railroaded. And that kind of like got me blacklisted big time, because they did not want me standing with their not only just political opposition, but rednecks with guns. And I'm like, nah, I'm gonna do that. And not only am I gonna do that, but I'm gonna get Black Lives Matter to stand with the Bundys. And 3 years later, you notice Ammon Bundy said he supports Black Lives Matter. Who do you think made that happen? I made a call. I said, hey, they made you look racist because you didn't have black people at the refuge.
Oh,
and,
no, man. I'm friends with all those guys. To see the kind of race baiting, you got to play defense with, it's so frustrating. But Patrick, I just want to give you a chance to promote your website. What's the website? How can people get in touch with you if they want more about your story or they want to get involved with Millennials for Solidarity?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a lot of stuff soon. We're going to be marching on the malls because Kate Brown allows Victoria's Secret, an Epstein-connected store, to be running pedophile fronts in the mall. But she wants to ruin Christmas. So Millennials of Solidarity, check me out. We do have a site, but it's not really up yet. So check me out on YouTube, Millennials for Solidarity. A lot of our videos are being shadow banned, but you're going to love what you see. But also Suit and Tie Skater Guy on Instagram. You can hit me up there, or Patrick Stupel on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter has just suspended me, actually, though, because I called out a local news station for covering up Epstein-level work that I'm doing, Epstein whistleblowing. I'm actually advising and working with Virginia Giuffre on Twitter. My top tweet on Twitter is me and Virginia calling out the local mayor, Sam Adams, who's a pedophile. So a couple key things real quick. If anybody wants to help donate to the work that we do, you can hit me up at Cash App, PDX777. It's greatly appreciated because the work that I do is really hard, being a homeless whistleblower. But again, we're going to be starting the March on Mansions, Kate Brown's mansion. We're going to be challenging them to shut down Victoria's Secret, because why Is she shutting down Christmas tree lightings and black church Christmas services? But we're allowed to go patronize the pocketbook of geopolitical pedophiles like Leslie Wexner, Epstein's donor, who runs Victoria's Secret. So we're going to challenge Kate Brown. Shut down all pedophile fronts in the mall now, or we're going to march on your house. And you're going to get patriots, Black Lives Matter, and everyone swinging a rhetorical baseball bat at you if you don't. So those are some fun things to look forward to. You can get exclusive gear. Fuck Ted Wheeler hats and hoodies if you want.
Awesome. Hey, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. We'll be checking in with you, and hope to hear from you as you get your organization more underway.
Cool. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Patrick. All right, let's check in with our co-host, Comment Jim Freedom. He's got just a minute before he's got to check out for the day. Check in with our audience on some comments. Mr. Freedom.
What's going on?
That was an interesting several rabbit holes like packed into one. I hope everybody got that, insight of, this is how this, I don't want to say this is how the sausage is made. That's almost too cliche, but this is this sort of common bullshit behind state and local level corruption as it connects to, these sort of bigger picture agendas that we talk about on the show.
Yeah, that was a lot to process, and I hadn't. I don't know anything about the burning down of that place. I hadn't read anything about that, so it's hard to comment on anything personally. As far as comments go, there's just some ones from earlier. Cacao Steve was wanting to ask you from earlier. I don't know which one it is, so I usually just say both. But when you were talking about your testing, what you got to go through to go to Hawaii, he said that's crazy. He said, isn't there an antibodies test where you can get a test just to see, even if you are negative, you can test to see if you had it in the past,
So this is one of the just bullshit issues around the tests, right? Because the prick test that I just call it the prick test because it's the blood prick. You prick your finger, you get a little piece of blood on a test strip, you put a sterile solution on it, and it pushes your blood sample across these areas where there are reactive formulas on the test strip to tell you, one, if you have the active virus. It has two strips, two lines that can be activated by this, right? And I forget the details. It's like a home pregnancy test, right? You put your pee on the thing and then it changes color, right? And it's pretty simple and straightforward operationally how it works. And I think they say they called it a 45-minute test. It's not 15 minutes because they want you to wait. It's pretty clear in 15 minutes, and you can do the actual prick in the test in about 2 minutes if you know what you're doing. And they can tell you both. If you have the one line is for active virus DNA or RNA, and the other script is for antibodies. It says you may have had it in the past. And with our test, I tested negative for both. And if even just based on the hype, I don't know if I would like to take a test once a week if it was $2 for something like that, and that's probably what it should cost. You should be able to get it in the mail. Just anyway, so the fact that the tests that I'm going for all these bigger, well, you got to prove this or prove that, or for your job kind of thing, or to permission to travel to Hawaii. I'm like, no, this is some bullshit. There's some major restriction on what they're allowed to do or what's allowed to be produced or what's FDA approved. And that's why like the over-the-counter test, now they've got someone who's going to profit from it. Now they've got it connected to your cell phone. All right, now we can release that to the public. Oh, but now there's a new strain and it's not relevant anyway. There's so much manipulation and there's so many little things that you go, wait a second, doesn't that just unravel the whole thing? It's like it's a sweater of bullshit threads with loose ends sticking out all over the place. You can pull any one of them and the whole thing as a narrative just falls apart. Why was Adam able to get a test kit months ago? I forget, was it March or April, where he was able to know within an hour was he that he was negative for both antibodies and the virus, and yet now he's trying to go out and get one to go to Hawaii and can't even schedule a fucking appointment. Like, something's wrong here. There's no, it doesn't make sense. And eventually,
If you got more money, if you got more money, you could probably find a way to skip the line and get tested whenever you feel the whim, but that's, rich people. Low Key 209 checks in. This weekend, I saw a store limiting only 4 people inside. I've seen a couple do that myself as well. There's you taking the test.
Mm-hmm.
He said, back to Low Key, he says, the wait was 1.5 hours, could have been longer depending on the customers. I just walked out of the store with at least 10 people. I think I got the Rona. Christopher says that BitChute has a good audience these days. Is that one of the new ones we're going to be trying to get onto?
Yes, definitely. Yes, we are really excited, and we've been in this new version of Adam versus the Man, or there's some working towards this current version for the past year. I think since February we started with, or January, as we started with Donald Trump's announcement for a national state of emergency, and we're taking on my brother Alden Kokesh is looked at. I don't want to I'm really excited about this. I don't want to say more publicly than I'm supposed to at this point, but he is going to be joining our team, and it looks like he is going to be dedicated to distribution of content. So that's going to make sure that hopefully, my dream is that I can produce this show and it's valuable enough one way or another that it's worth someone going, let's get this content everywhere that people want to consume it and make the most money from it everywhere. We're not at that point yet. And CJ calculated that YouTube, even with the views they've allowed us to get, has ripped us off to the tune of $80,000 this year. And that's not, hey, we were making $1 million a year on YouTube, and now we're making $920,000 a year on YouTube. No, that's we've been making a few $100s a month, and it should be something more like a few $1,000s a month, based on the views they allow us to get on YouTube. And that's a major struggle. We don't have outside funding. We depend on you, the active and engaged audience. And now we're at that critical mass where it looks like we got another core team member, production assistant coming on for distribution. So I'm really excited about that starting in January.
Me as well. That's going to be awesome. Mary Wildfire, lastly, before I get going, she's upset that we're taking 3 days off. She says, no, what am I going to do for 3 days from 12 to 2? And she says, Merry Christmas. Hope it's a good one. So you as well, Mary.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And tomorrow, remember, big show tomorrow as a fun send off for the holiday, as a nothing but positive news. So in order to do that, Jim, we got to finish covering all the shit in the world. I think I'm just going to read through headlines for the next 15 minutes and then sign off. So we'll see what I've got piled up here, shall we?
Good times.
All right. To finish off the Corona block for the day, and my screen froze, which is perfect. I'm not going to be distracted. I'm going to read tunnel vision here. CNN.com, why it's crucial that news outlets get it right when covering adverse coronavirus vaccine reactions. Yeah, the largest vaccination program in American history gets underway, incidents in which some people have allergic reactions will undoubtedly pop up. And that presents a complicated task for newsrooms. On one hand, an adverse reaction to a new vaccine is newsworthy, but on the other hand, news orgs risk saturating coverage with stories about isolated incidents that might give the public the wrong impression about the safety of the Pfizer/BioNTech vaccine and others that eventually receive emergency use approval. Where the hell was this voice of reason when it came to saturating news coverage with stories about isolated incidents about the virus itself? Well, we had this freak occurrence here. Oh my God. Now, don't be afraid of the vaccine, be afraid of the virus. Next, from Los Angeles, CBS local, COVID-19 creating mental health crisis for children, experts say. And we teased this story ahead from yesterday. Just very disturbing news that suicide is now the leading cause of death for children ages 10 to 14 in Ohio. This is from ODH. CJ skipping way ahead in the pile here to news5cleveland.com. But yeah, that's a pretty big measure of the negative effect this is having on kids. And oh man, I hate to say I told you so, but when that number is, I hope you don't mind me saying I told you so, when the effect of not listening to me was that now we have a suicide epidemic among America's youth. I just really, like, sorry, I'm gonna say it. And I it's not me. I don't mean to make this personal, like I told you so, because there were other libertarians, there were other pundits, there were other analysts who knew to question the coronavirus narrative from the beginning. And if we as a whole had listened to those voices earlier on in this crisis, we wouldn't be at this point where we see like this headline from CBS LA. Educators and therapists say the pandemic has created a serious mental health crisis for students. For 9 months, Dr. Veronica Brown, principal of Manchester Avenue Elementary School in South LA, has been unable to hug her students or even see them in person. And she has seen more pain. I just keep going. But there is an LAUSD, Los Angeles Unified School District hotline for counselors and psychologists daily for students. I guess I should point out here, more importantly, California Youth Crisis Hotline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 1-800-843-5200. And yeah, it is in places like California where you have governor like Newsom, where you have like New York, not because they're major population centers, but because of their particularly disgusting strain of statism, that you have these major lockdowns and these over the top crises of the cure being worse than the disease. Now, there's a side political story here from Politico.com. We want them infected. Trump appointee demanded herd immunity strategy. Emails reveal then HHS science advisor Paul Alexander called for millions of Americans to be infected as means of fighting COVID-19. More palace intrigue. Politico.com, Trump officials interfered with CDC reports on COVID-19. And this is more the bigger relevant story in this. The politically appointed HHS spokesperson and his team demanded and received the right to review CDC scientific reports to health professionals. Yeah, and so here the general. I mean, I read through most of. No, I think I read this entire story, and it was a lot of stupid sort of political hinting. Oh, well, they did this to make it look worse because they're bad and they're Republicans, or they made it to make this look better. And it was a pro-Trump narrative that they were really trying to get through there. Surprise, surprise. Now, as to the mutation fears, I got to include this headline in our pile today from Daily Star. New COVID-19 strain features 17 mutations, sparking fears vaccine won't work. Yes, vaccines are specifically genetically coded, and they only apply to a specific strain or virus. Obviously, there's some variability in all of that, but they are based on the DNA or RNA of what their target. So the new variants feature 17 alterations to the original coronavirus strain, many of them to the virus's spike protein, which vaccines are being developed to target. Yeah, so this is the fear that they could keep this going indefinitely with new strains and variations, and now the vaccine doesn't work, and blah 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 blah. But yeah, that's be ready for this, and I just be ready to fight the fear, because that's what really this crisis is focused around. It's a crisis of fear more than anything else. Yahoo.com. Fauci won't be seen as kids this Christmas, and he wants everyone to do the same. So they're going to hold him up as the example, who's probably not seen as kids for other reasons. But they're holding him up as the example in contrast to all of the other officials and experts who are just contradicting their own advice. Speaking of which, even in California, and this headline is from the 17th last week, 2 strip clubs can stay open and set own COVID rules, California judge rules. Yeah. Okay, so strip clubs like cannabis dispensaries and liquor stores, they're exempt because if we took those away from people, they go totally crazy. We can take away their incomes, we can make their lives miserable, but if we take away these animalistic pleasures, let's not do that. 2 San Diego strip clubs can remain open and make their own determinations about providing a safe environment for dancers and patrons during the pandemic. A judge ruled Wednesday the decision dealt a setback to Governor Gavin Newsom's health order that calls for such establishments to be shuttered. So just to connect this to the earlier point, before you decide not to fight something, really evaluate what it means and what the costs might be of fighting versus not fighting, and do the math. People ask me, why are you so brave and able to do this and that with civil disobedience? And it's not that I'm brave, it's just that I have more confidence in my calculations of risk and reward. And so do better calculations, take the time to question your premises, and you see, maybe you're covered in this. Maybe somebody else has already fought this and won precedent, because this is for businesses with restaurant services. Judge Woolfield said it applies to San Diego County businesses with restaurant services, including strip clubs, and that it exempts them from shutdowns and any related orders that bar live adult entertainment and go beyond protocols that are no greater than essential to controlling the spread of COVID-19. Now, this is hilarious in terms of what they're saying is carved out as allowed when you step back to the bigger picture. They operated for 5 weeks under the pandemic under their own safety measures, which included keeping strippers 15 feet from tables, because when you sneeze, you can project the coronavirus up to 6 feet, but when you queef it, it's got more like a 15-foot radius that needs to be respected, right? Allowing no more than 1 stripper per stage and requiring them and other employees to wear masks. And even though they bent over backwards, and why did they do this? Their customers wanted it more than anything. I mean, maybe not all of them, but that there were significant numbers of people who said, yeah, this is a business that I am going to go to and patronize, going to these extents. And now that's San Diego County, California, but who knows, maybe that can be used by the exact same legal arguments in other places in California, if not in other parts of the United States. There are some nice things about the reliability of the corruption of our legal system and your ability to at least occasionally leverage it to your advantage. From the AP, also last week, French President Macron tested positive for COVID-19. Nice sidebar. Now, here's a story that you're going to be citing for a while. This is the week.com, or at least I'm going to be referring to this. I already have a couple times in the show, I think. Pfizer says millions of vaccine doses are waiting to be shipped, but the government hasn't told them where to go. Yeah, simple as that. Now, Reason has this headline: Americans are in full revolt against pandemic lockdowns. I'm not going to get into that, but they have done a good job with that story, putting together a pretty good overview of the resistance in the United States, and there's a lot of it. Now, I think we have some of those stories, but first, more on the vaccine. Why not? From the Associated Press, FDA plans to okay second COVID-19 vaccine after panel endorsement. So, yeah, let's make things complicated. There's not just one. There's going to be multiple vaccines, and there are multiple profiteers and companies that are going to benefit from this. So this is now drug maker Moderna getting in on the coronavirus vaccine racket. So next headline from The Sun, and this is one, yes, that you were going to be referring to for a long time. Also, sham shot. Hospital accused of faking a nurse's coronavirus vaccine injection on TV after viewers claim syringe didn't move. And this is really clear. I've watched this footage a few times. They put a needle in this nurse that already had the plunger down. Now, what does that mean? And you could jump to, oh well, they were faking it. They put empty syringes in people, and that's part of it. And that's like when you see ex-presidents lighting up to set the example for vaccine nationalism and take the shot on TV when it's available. They're going to get shots of saline. They're not going to give the presidents, the ex-presidents who are capable of all the testing and isolation, even if they really are concerned with the virus. Are those guys? And it's Clinton and Bush and Obama. You think they're going to take the shot? Hell no. There's no reason. So then you see a case like this, when if they wanted to give someone a fake injection, they could have just filled the syringes with saline and done that for their staged show. The fact that they did this, I mean, what does it mean to stick a syringe with the plunger down into someone? It means either you didn't fill it with anything or you already filled it and emptied it into someone else. If they had emptied it into someone else and then stuck it in someone, that is a huge problem of blood-to-blood contact, essentially, for transmission of HIV, of any other bloodborne pathogens. Hugely problematic. I mean, as in you get sued. There's going to be more to this story, but the takeaway here is that this is a system that can't be trusted, because even in the best case scenario, oh, we grabbed a syringe, we didn't put anything in it, and we stuck it in someone, and then pretended like we did. Like I've gotten plenty of shots in my life in the Marines for allergies, for immunotherapy, and there's a procedure around giving someone a shot where, right before you give them the shot, you hold it up and you make sure there's no bubbles in what you're injecting, and you use where you the prototypical or the stereotypical, tap the needle or tap the syringe and push it a little bit to make sure there's no air in it and that it's liquid coming out, and then you stick it in someone. You sterilize the site, and then so to get to this point of, oh, whoops, we just stuck a syringe with the plunger down already in someone. Yeah, I don't know about that. Now, the vaccine, Wall Street Journal has this headline: COVID-19 vaccine passports could help life return to normal, but experts urge caution. No, experts are saying, get ready for us to screw you again on something else. Now, okay, so I have this story again. Video shows mishap. Sorry, this is a duplicate here, CJ, but Fox 17 Nashville video shows mishap during COVID-19 vaccination of El Paso nurses. Watch the video for yourself. It's all in there. Civilized.life. Cannabis consumers are more likely to survive heart attacks. Now, maybe I meant to save this for our positive thing tomorrow, but it was because I saw this from Forbes, skipping ahead a couple. Cannabis may reduce deadly COVID-19 lung inflammation. Researchers explain why. Yeah. Cannabis active compounds have a number of properties that make it appealing as a potential adjunct treatment for infections from the novel coronavirus. And recently, scientists have begun looking at its potential for reducing susceptibility to the disease, and even discussed whether it could be used as an antiviral medication. And since I've made such a mess of this giant block of Corona, I feel it necessary to take a hit of this cannabis because we have failed to contain it. Now, I think I wanted to try to end on that positive note, but just a few more stories, just a few more. I promise we'll get CJ on and we'll wrap this up. Excuse me. From WKMI Talk Radio 1360, Johns Hopkins University researcher finds death rate before and after COVID the same. And I've been telling you from the beginning, it's going to be when we get analyses like this that we're able to actually evaluate the deaths, because we know that part of the coronavirus hoax is overcounting the deaths and misattributing deaths. And Ron Paul, very early on in this, predicted, oh, you're going to see deaths from these other things go down as they count those as coronavirus deaths. So this is, what in terms of is this decisive or not? Maybe we'll get into the numbers when we get back in January. But one of the threads being pulled on this sweater hoax is that, the death rate being about the same. That's going to be another story you're going to be referring back to. From December 19th, 2 days ago, London begins emergency lockdown as UK fights new virus strain. Bloomberg. Capital, Southeast England move into new tier. Trains jammed. New mutation forces Johnson to scrap 5-day Christmas easing. Oh, whoops, it forced me. Oh, there was a virus. It forced me to do this terrible thing to you that profits me and my friends. Whoops. And I guess, oh no, that is it. That is it for our Corona block. Congratulations, we made it. Mostly contained, I would say. One other fun headline. Let's get CG on stage here while I refresh my screen. But let's do this. TheVerge.com. This is worth pointing out because I don't want people to miss all the great jokes about this over the holidays with your families. Members of the U.S. Space Force will now be called Guardians. Yeah, of the galaxy. Right. CJ, would you like that?
I don't know what to even say about it, Adam. I mean, honestly, Guardians, Spaceman, Space Women, I don't know. Guardians, I mean, they should have known better than Guardians. They're going to have way too much fun with that. There's going to be some overzealous E7 that's going to be like, I'm the Guardian of the Galaxy. Like, all right, fine. Give them their stupid name. I don't consent to the taxation for this. I don't know what else to say. I don't want to pay for Guardians. Guardians. Like, come on. Get real.
Soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, coasties, and Guardians.
We suck. We suck with Space Force. Space Force is an illegitimate branch of the government. And you know what? Here's a funny sidebar on that just real quick is that they're saying that Joe Biden could nix the Space Force. And with a swipe of a pen, just say, nope, not doing it. I don't think they'll do it because, of course, the internet, to remind everybody, says that we have bases on the moon and colonies on Mars already, and you can stay at Trump Hotel on Mars.
There's no way that Biden would allow himself to be the president that killed Space Force.
I don't know. I think that out of spite, they'll just say, we don't have money for Space Force right now, and then they're going to just sign it away. Yeah, right. Again, the Democrat that doesn't want to spend money, I know, long shot, but just mark my words, within the next 4 years, they're going to nix Space Force. They're going to call it a Trump failure, and that'll be about it.
Well, CJ, teasing ahead to tomorrow, we have an exciting guest coming on, someone pretty controversial, Chester Doles, ex-KKK member, who let's just say had some challenges shedding that ex-KKK shadow or stain, especially now when he says he is 100% patriot for Trump and nationalist, and you go, nationalist.
Maybe we should do Adam Loves the Man tomorrow. I don't know.
No. This is good, but this is going to be a fun. It's rare that I have an interview that I have to prep for like this, like a debate almost. But more like
lots of links or just a conversation.
There's going to be a couple links, but see, like today, Patrick, it's sort of I have to know enough to do my best to help present his story in the best credible way. Okay, so Patrick Thomas, thanks for the interview, bro. My phone was dead and I scrambled. Listeners, all right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, and it was great, Patrick. I appreciate that we were able to, get, I think, the critical part about that in. And I had to do some research first, but the Chester Doles tomorrow is going to be some sparks. All right, Patrick also comments on the point about strippers. We are going to have out of work ethical strippers protest the fact that Governor Gate Brown allows Epstein donors to operate pedophile fronts in the mall. Victoria. Oh, yes. Oh my God. By the way, I feel remiss that I didn't think of this earlier, CJ, but you remember what strippers did in California earlier when they were shut down?
I don't. I would say that Fans Only went like this and then went like this. And then
they were doing titty deliveries. You could do food delivery. They were no longer strippers. They were food delivery experts. Yeah.
You know, I'm not even mad at it, really, honestly. I'm really, how can you be mad at the entrepreneurial spirit of the strippers in California? I mean, they deserve a lot of credit for sure.
Well, you used to have to drive to a strip bar or club to have titties in your face. Now they're just a phone call away, thanks to Governor Newsom.
Oh man. Oh man. Well, let's leave it at that with titties in your face. Go to adamversustheman.com and help support this broadcast. Please, while you're there, click the Patreon link and help this broadcast out by and of course my computer's freezing. There it is. The Patreon. Please go to our Patreon and help support us. Adam versus the Man is on Patreon. And if you do that, then you can go to our store where being in the Producers Club gets you 15% off if you're a better patron. Or in the Producers Club, as well as our affiliate partnership with Cigar Federation, where promo code Adam10 gets you 10% off your order. You can go into the search bar and type in Nugs. That is Adam's favorite for a cigar, for cigars and sunsets. When you were doing that. Hopefully tonight, if you're doing the conjunction, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, you can puff on a cigar there. And then last but not least, the MakeThemDebate.com. Help out our debate manager, Mercedes Dambertowski, to get some debates. We've had one. We don't want to put this one out to pasture. We want to actually use it as the vehicle for sparking debates and conversations. It's a great platform to do so. So please, if you're feeling like you want to see Adam talk to somebody, help promote it through MakeThemDebate.com. And other than that, as far as my comment about Adam versus the Rona, I know we're not just Adam versus the Rona. Okay, it's just that this fucking sucks, man. I hate seeing 50 links all with COVID. And don't get me wrong, when they prove your point, I'm like, fuck yeah, they prove our point. But it's just like it's never. I can't wait for COVID to end. Maybe I'm gonna turn pro-vaccine and pro-government opinion just to get this fucking news cycle of COVID over. I don't know.
Yeah, CJ, with that, I think what we've hit on here, and we're going to keep getting better at it, but as a general formula right now for this production, for sort of journalistic responsibility, when the mainstream media is just overwhelming with Corona headline one after another, and we know that that's a distortion of your attention. Right. I think for us to do blocks where we go, look, here's all of this shit, and we're going to do our best to condense it into this, but we're not going to pretend that it's not out there and that this isn't what's happened in the mainstream conversation. So I'll be better organized when we get back in January, but doing a COVID block of a run through of the headlines once or twice a week and doing it as fast as possible and trying to contain it that way, I think that's an appropriate response. If we covered it as much as the mainstream, it'd be even more.
In all honesty, Adam, though, I agree with you on why we should cover it. So don't get me wrong there. I agree with why we do it. It's just that I feel like in our own unique way, we are trying to contain this. We are trying to make it so that we can have conversations outside of this, but it just seems like either we'll get a story about like Saturn and Jupiter, and somewhere in there they're going to be like, but make sure you socially distance for COVID while you're Jupiter and Saturn align, and they'll sneak it in there, and it's never freaking ending. So I challenge you tomorrow, Adam. No saying the word COVID, Corona, Karina, the virus that shall not be named, the government's big spending wallet called Corona. I don't know. I'm just begging you.
All right, we'll see. I mean, we did
Christmas miracle.
All right, hold on. Well, then, in order to do that, I got to do our headline block real quick here. This is gonna be 2 minutes, and we're gonna get to the good news and the solstice, and we're gonna make sure that Jupiter and Saturn are gonna stay at least 6 feet apart tonight. But Reuters, U.S. whistleblower pressed to exaggerate leftist role in urban protests, lawyer says. Surprise, surprise. In North Korea, according to Insider.com, the owner of a fishing fleet publicly executed for listening to foreign radio stations at sea, Radio Free Asia report says. Who knows whether that's true or not. Texas and 9 other states filed new antitrust lawsuit against Google. Here's the full complaint. No, I'm not going to read the full complaint here. Yes, this is happening. It's worth knowing about. Pentagon pauses transition meetings, causing concern for Biden's team as it meets resistance in the department. Yeah, still a thing. Wall Street Journal, new ad fraud scheme highlights a growing problem for streaming TV. Yeah, that's people ripping off the system with simulated devices and apps, view farms. Spokesman review has this lawmakers dismayed. Experts babbled at Trump brushing off suspected Russian hack. Yeah, that happened last week. We didn't really get to it. Romney coming in with the fear mongering. Russia could cut off U.S. food and water supply in next cyber attack. Yeah, okay. And then this from DNYUZ.com. She called police over a neo-Nazi threat, but the neo-Nazis were inside the police. Yes, this is from Frankfurt, Germany, and showed all these links will be in the notes. We're getting this out of the way so we don't have to do it tomorrow. Afghanistan, Kabul deputy governor killed in sticky bomb attack on car. Yeah, that happened. Russian government hackers are beyond broad espionage campaign that has compromised U.S. agencies, including Treasury and Commerce. That was actually an older headline on this one. Fun sidebar, though, Russia's new guerrilla media are going after Putin. Yeah, at some point you can't fight the internet. Austrian, now this is going to be a fun one to just poke holes in from Reuters. Austrian police seize haul of weapons intended for German extremists. This is like a haul of weapons as in would fit into the trunk of my car. Pretty bad fear-mongering headline. Now, another one we didn't get to that I got into last week myself. U.S. companies grilled with members of Chinese Communist Party. Yeah. Stuff happening in the news. All right, that's it. That's it. We are all caught up. We are good for Christmas. That was it. Monday morning, check, accomplished, done. So tomorrow, I don't know what the positivity, the good news show, Adam versus the good news. Tomorrow, we want your pictures from tonight. We want to look at what you got for the meteor shower and for the alignment, the Christmas star. But tomorrow, we're not even going to mention the coronavirus once. So CJ will never have to interrupt me playing that stupid clip. It's contained to this episode. So tomorrow, science and technology stuff minus corona, because that's more fear and propaganda and politics than science. But anything that's science, tech, nature discovery, innovation, good news, tomorrow's the day to send you into the high holidays. But from goodnewsnetwork.org for this day in history, today is a particularly magical winter solstice, not only bringing the longest night of the year to our northern hemisphere and marking the start of more daylight, but also a major celestial event. In an exceptionally rare conjunction, Jupiter and Saturn will appear closer to one another than they've been in 800 years, visibly separated by just 0.1 degrees. That's less than 6 feet. Named the Christmas star, the nearness of these gas giants will create a shining point of light, even though the two planets are actually millions of miles apart. The closer you are to the equator, the better the view, and the best time is between dusk and just after nightfall. Looking low on the western horizon with a telescope, several of the planet's largest moons will also be visible with the celestial conjunction. That's it, the celestial conjunction, lasting for the entire week surrounding today's winter solstice. And if you're in the northern hemisphere, there's a meteor shower as well. Check that out. See the best ways to view it around you. More good news on this date. On this day in 1620, Mayflower pilgrims went to shore at Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts. On this day in 1913, the first crossword puzzle by Arthur Wynne was published in the New York World. On this day in 1948, the Irish Free State of Eire declared independence. On this day in 1962, Rondane National Park was established, Norway's first as an important habitat for herds of wild reindeer. On this day in 1991, the birth of the Commonwealth of Independent States was proclaimed by 11 of the 12 former Soviet republics. And on this day in 2004, 2 French reporters held hostage for 4 months in Iraq were released, and that is how humanity does the winter solstice for good news on this day in history. And with that, peace and love, y'all. Wait.
I was gonna say I don't have smoke weed today, so I was gonna go smoke weed every day. Yo, smoke weed. I was gonna do it for you vocally, but
and choose happiness and be excellent to each other.